Good. Well, it's not good morning really, but it is Wednesday, the 22nd of April 2026. So I've been spewing out quite a few videos lately, but there is a little bit more than usual to talk about. And just to make sure I keep track on everything, I might just as well update it as they happen. I went to the oncologist in Kongan yesterday. It's about 120 kilometers right from where I live at the University Hospital Shinakarin, and spoke to the oncologist that I also had contact with when I started this journey back in 2023. He was a bit surprised to see me. Before he wanted to see me, he wanted to have a little bit more details about my PSA, how it's been evolving over the time. So luckily I had prepared myself. I had printed out on an A4 a graph showing how the PSA had evolved over the years. So he was quite pleased to have a conversation with me. I failed to acknowledge that he's paid by the minute more or less, so I thought he was just being very interested in my story since it took a half an hour for me to have a conversation with him. But when I got the bill, I realized that there was a correlation between his interest and the money I have to pay. Anyway, my meeting was to listen a little bit about my options as far as what medicine they have. And it turns out that they have both Casodex and Eligard at the hospital as something they are ready available to give. And as such, I can come any Tuesday I want, and within 10 minutes from requesting the drug, I will have it administered. So that is going to be the way to do it, because to my surprise, I can actually get Casodex here at 20 baht per pill. I don't know what's that in dollars, about 65 cents per pill. And I need a total of about, how many do I need? 20 pills, 30 pills, 30 pills, I think. 40 pills maybe. I think I'm going to do 2 weeks before the Eligard injection, and I'm going to do 3 weeks after the Eligard injection, so that I'll be needing 40 pills. So that's 800 baht, which is very, very cheap. Now compare that to the fact that when Casodex was under a patent, and I was looking into that 3 years ago, it was out of patent 3 years ago as well. But back then I saw that the price was somewhere about $3,300 per month, and that meant it was like what was that? It was like 3,000 baht or so for one single pill, and now we're down to 20 baht. So that is ridiculous price difference. But anyway, they've got that ready available, which means I can get the antidote receptions blocked, and when I start the agonist, then the antagonist will have blocked what it should be doing. The alternative is Firmagon. Firmagon does not have that spike because it works by just blocking the testosterone right away, which I would have preferred. But the reality of it is it costs 15,000 baht. That's about $500 to start out. And then it is an injection every month, which is about $200 a month. Now, as compared to the Eligard, which is a 3-month injection, and you just pay 8,300 baht for one injection, and then 3 months later you take the second one. So it's significantly cheaper. I think the total cost will be about 18,000 baht for the treatment that I'm talking about taking, as opposed to about 45,000 baht if I was going to do Firmagon. The drug that I really wanted to do, the Relugolix, that's what it's called. They don't have it, and to my surprise, the professor, the oncologist I was talking to, he haven't even heard about it. But because I had prepared myself, I wanted him to issue a prescription and issue a medical document so that I can use that in case I found it somewhere in Thailand or somewhere else, and I can have it as a documentation for the fact that I actually need it. So he did not want to issue that before he knew what I was talking about. So he had sat there as I was waiting and started Googling it. And then he asked me, is that true? You just need 360 milligrams as a start-out dose, and it's 120 milligrams continuously after that. And I said, that's exactly the drug. That's exactly the way it is. So it's quite interesting to sit there with an oncologist, a professor at a university hospital, who's actually teaching new doctors how to do things and telling me that he had never heard about it. And in his vast network, according to himself, he has never heard about that drug. Anyway, I will be doing my due diligence and see if I can find the drug, and then I'll be buying it. and then I will be storing it so that when I need to go in for another 6-month stint of hormone treatment, then instead of doing these Eligard casodextrin, I will do my relugolix treatment. That's a very difficult word. I don't know why they want difficult words for these drugs. So that's where we are right now. Now, I was not happy about it because it is the cheapest one, and one of the issues I have with doing these injections is very simple. I can't remember. I think it's a 22.5 milligrams of active components were not in these injections that you get, but they give that on a, well, you can have it on a 1 month injection, 3 months injections, or a 6-month injection. And that's basically just a matter of convenience. I mean, you don't have to go to the hospital that often if you do a 6-month as compared to a 1 month. Now, I choose a three months injection, but also choose a 3 month injection because I want to make sure that once I stop, that the time it takes for me to recover ain't going to be too long. But that brings me to the issue I've got with these injections. It is too much standard of care. It's too much put into a box with no considerations to the individual. Now, I get the same injection as a person who comes in and have got 300 pounds, a smoker, alcoholic, no idea what a healthy diet is, has never done exercise. I mean, he might have several comorbidities. He gets the same amount of drug as I do. And if he's got a gleason 8 and I got a gleason 9, he still gets the same drug as I do, the same amount. Now, you could do some combination drugs, I fully understand that. But when you're just looking at the simple drug, Eligard, they are administering that as a simple dose, the same size for everybody. Now, my question obviously will be, who is getting too much or who is getting too little, or who is getting it too often and who's getting it too rare? There are no one shoe fits all when it comes to these kind of things, but they are trying to make it that way. And that makes me very wary. I do not like it because I've already proved that I'm not the guy who fits into any of these boxes. I've done at least 924 PSA for almost 3 years. And despite the prognosis being that I wouldn't survive for 2 years if I did that, I have done so. So for me to go and take a standard injection that they pump into people, with no regard to who they are and where they are and what comorbidities they have, I don't like that. I really don't like that. But I have found a certain kind of peace with my decision by several factors. First of all, this means I can get started very, very quickly. I'll be doing that the 1st of May with the Casodex, and then about the 15th of May, I will be doing the injection. The secondly is it costs very little money compared to the alternatives. I mean, 18,000 baht versus 45,000 baht is a significant amount of money for me. And if I was to do by local prices the Relogolix, then it will be costing me upwards of $3,000 a month, which is absolutely out of the question. Even if I won a lottery, I don't think I would do it at that price. But the third reason is also that this is, I suppose, the most common way for people to start the venture of androgen deprivation therapy using drugs that would be using Lupron or Eligard or the similar, and they have a very similar effect, so similar doses and similar everything. And so by doing it this way, I get to document what is of interest to most people. If I had done the Fomagon, yeah, it would have been a smaller target group. And if I had done the Relogolix, apparently it would have been an even smaller target group. Now, I will try to see, as I said, if I can get my hands on it so that when I have to do the second 6-month stint of androgen deprivation therapy, then I will be doing it the way I want it. But for now, it's going to be a documented case of using what most people, I suppose, is using, and that is these agonists in the terms of Lupron or Eligard. And I think this one was Eligard. Which one is going to be exactly? I'll let you update on that. I can't remember. I got so many data. But here's also another question I had for the oncologist, and obviously he couldn't answer me. And that was, once I'm done with the 6 months of treatment, what PSA am I going to expect to see? Because I see one big problem, and I can't remember if I mentioned that in the other videos, but I really do see a very essential problem when it comes to the treatment. And that is the fact that if you're doing just androgen deprivation therapy, then what you do is you render the cancer dormant. And there will be a minute killing of cancers, but it won't be much. So you'll still have the cancer burden. Obviously, all depending on what else initiative you're going to take along with the drug. And I'm going to do the whole shebang. I'm going to do the exercise, the meditation, the diet, the whole 9 yards. So When I get out on the other side, I do not expect myself to be cured, but I do expect to see the cancer burden to be dramatically reduced. Now, how much is it going to be in terms of visual documentation, that is going to be seen in the MRI, but what does that translate to in PSA? That's the interesting question for me, because what I see is a lot of people that go into the endocrine deprivation therapy and they see their PSA drop to zero and they all jump up joy and happy, which I do understand, because if it didn't jump to zero, then they would be castrate the system right out the door, and that wouldn't be good. But the fact that it renders to zero doesn't really mean much, because as I say, it just keeps the cancer dormant. But then my question is, if, say, I have, in combination with my holistic approach, reduced the cancer burden to, say, by visual impression to 50%, am I then to expect a PSA to hover around the 50% mark of what I am today, which has been between 90 and 110? That should be between 45 and 55 then, because, and that's a very relevant question, because what I see a lot of people doing is they go from 0.01 or something like that, and then they experience it starts rising to 0 to 1, then to 2, then to 4, then to 8, and they say, oh, bloody hell, we got doubling time, and it's just going totally AWOL on us. So once it goes on a doubling time that is worrisome, they go straight into new treatments of various sorts, be that radiation, chemotherapy, or maybe a new kind of drug. I don't want to go there, because logic dictates that obviously you will have a PSA, you will have a prostate-specific antigen in your tests if you do have cancer. And by being on androgen deprivation therapy, you do not cure yourself. So I do not want to jump on any treatment until I see at what level do my PSA hover. But the question is very relevant, because what if the hovering number is supposed to be, say, 20, and I'm thinking out of a statistical or theoretical perspective it's going to be 50, and I just let it go until 50, only to realize it goes to 60, it goes to 70, it goes to 80. I should have stopped long ago then. But I can't get the answer from the oncologist. He have no idea. They all work by statistical numbers, but they are derived from people who are getting treatments in the official system. They're not derived from people like me asking the questions. Well, here's one thing that he did actually mention, and which I found quite amusing. He said that people who's got a high PSA, they can see that they will be dying of the cancer. People who's got a low PSA, being maintained low because of drug, they die of heart diseases and other adverse events by the drug. So you have the choice, as it looks, according to him, going to the hospital and get killed by the drug, or you don't go to the hospital and you get killed by the cancer. Now, I'm in the process of proving that that does not have to be true. And I've already proven that to a certain extent by being 3 years out and having been able to keep a stage 4 at bay. Now, what the question really is how much magic can I do in the combination with ADT? That's what we're going to see. And I'm going to keep you updated once we get started into that process. But as I said, we will start by doing something that I suspect won't see much of a change into my physiology, because it will just be a drug that is blocking the androgen receptors, meaning that whatever testosterone I'm producing will be normal, but the cancer can't benefit from it because it has been blocked by the androgen receptors. And then after 2 weeks, as I said, I probably and hopefully has got a solid blockage done to the androgen receptors. I'll be taking the Eligard, and the Eligard worked by stimulating the testosterone production in total overdrive. I think I mentioned that before. And eventually, because of that overdrive, it shuts down to basically zero. But it is that overdrive thing that I have to mitigate by doing castrates for a period of time, because I don't want to feed or fuel the cancer too much, and then just have to have more to battle downstream. So that's how it looks like for now, on a very hot, very sunny day. Until next time, as always, stay happy and healthy.